Hello and welcome back to Anna Rose Reads the podcast. I am your host, Anna, and I'm bringing you all another bonus episode this week. This time it is with Grace Reynolds, who is the author of Neon Moon, which is what we're going to be talking about today. Grace was also on the podcast earlier this year when we talked about her short story and the Punk Goes Horror 2 anthology from Trueborn Press, which was an absolutely lovely time. And Grace is a delightful human being, so I just, absolutely had to have her on the show again to talk about her horror western kind of outlaw novella, Neon Moon. It was something that I knew that I had to read as a former horse girl. It just needed to happen, but I will kind of give a disclaimer for this episode. Every podcaster's worst nightmare happened to me in that my computer blue screened in the middle of recording. And I was very fortunate that I was able to recover the first 30 minutes of our conversation and then pick back up on another device to finish out the interview. However, there was some stuff in the middle that got lost. And I'm doing surgery on this recording to put it all back together as seamlessly as possible. But if things sound a little out of order, that might be why. We tried to kind of patch it as best as we could, but I might jump in with an edit here or two to kind of explain where we're at in the conversation. But yeah, needless to say, got a new computer, and that hasn't happened again since. Knock on wood. Hopefully that never happens again. But Grace is just the best, and she was with me through it. She handled it like a champ, and I am very grateful for her kindness and grace, ironically, getting through that experience, because that was absolutely terrifying. As a lot of the people in the Patreon Discord know, I was freaking out. So, all of that being said, here's the interview. I'm going to do my very best to patch things up, but it's a lovely time all the same, and I hope that you all enjoy. Welcome back, Grace. This is wait. It's been like a month. I get to talk to you twice in a month. This is
Yay.
so wonderful. Welcome back to Anna Rose Reads the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in there. I'm present and accounted for. I am ready for the summer to start, summer kickoff, summer slashers, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready for StokerCon. That's going to be fun. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be fun to see everybody. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I did just read your country slasher, your cowgirl country western-ish slasher, Neon
hmm
Moon, and I will say that is a great way to kick off the summer. I'm tired of the normal Friday the 13th camp style slashers. I
hmm
like this one. This one is very fun to
Oh,
the world to
good.
exist in. So I'm very glad that I got the chance to squeeze that read in, and we're getting the chance to talk about it. But I want to go ahead and give you the opportunity to briefly introduce yourself and Neon Moon, the novella, before we really get into it, and start yapping away. So
Yeah, sure. So for listeners who aren't familiar, I'm Grace Reynolds. I write dark fiction and poetry, and we were talking about my honky tonk slasher, Neon
yes.
Moon, which takes place in the Texas Hill Country, and it is about a bartender who has survived hell and back with her abusive ex-husband who has recently passed away in the past year, and she's just getting her footing. It's a busy night at the bar, and all hell breaks loose pretty much. And it's gory, it's fun, there's songs, there's pretty lights everywhere. Casey Musgraves might be in a corner singing, we don't know, there's so much happening. she
I
just came
love.
out she just came out with a new album. I don't know if
She
you've seen.
did.
She did, and it's real fun. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I feel like I've kind of been like a very low-key fan of hers for
hmm
a while. So I'm very glad that she's, still out there and producing the same kind of good music. But to turn back to Neon Moon, great name by the way. Love that name. I want to ask where the inspiration for this kind of kicked off, because this is a very like niche slasher genre that is like, I for so many reasons I enjoyed it, and we'll get into those in a minute, but like what led to Neon Moon happening, because I want to hear all about that.
You're gonna laugh at the impetus of this.
Okay.
So back in ye olden days of Twitter, where
Yeah.
Twitter was whatever monster it is now, I think
Yeah.
I had just like shared something that I thought it would be fun to have Dolly Parton as a final girl with a chainsaw.
I
And
feel like I saw that.
and it got some great traction. And
Yeah.
I was like, gosh, I maybe I could write something like that. So I initially wrote the story as a comedy horror, and there's still like those comedic elements in the final version of it now, of course, but it was much more a little bit like slapstick horror or
Yeah.
slapstick comedy, I should say. And it was originally it's in Appalachia because I thought I have Appalachian roots on my dad's side. I was like, well, maybe I can do that. I pull a lot of family names. So if people live in like Kentucky, maybe they'll recognize some of the names I put in there. But yeah, I was very thankful for Dark Matter to pick it up, and my publisher and I had a great talk about the setting, and we both agreed like, hey, you know what? I think if we wrote it in Texas, it would be more authentic because
Mhm.
I had the joy of living in Texas for a couple of years, and I really loved going to the Texas Hill Country, and that's where it kind of decided once we said it in Texas, the story came out right. If that,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Everything just came out naturally. The characters have better backstories, and it was easier to connect them all together. So that's where the inspiration came from.
Right on. Yeah, I know. I kind of had like a Dolly Parton resurgence. Whenever so like we do the very st or we used to do the very stereotypical Thanksgiving trip to Gatlinburg as a family.
Oh my gosh,
You
I
know.
love Gatlinburg.
Yeah, we did that a lot when I was younger, and then like during like my college years and like going into grad school, we did it one last time. Like, and it was before like everybody got married. Like my cousins, like the people my age and my family got married, so it was like still like just
Mhm.
like it was just like it was when we used to take those trips whenever I was younger.
Mhm.
And it's probably one of the best vacations I've ever had. I mean, like we did, this is so not on brand for this story, but like it's just a funny story to share. We went to Dollywood one day and we took, one of like the big family pictures that one of the photographers takes, right?
Mhm.
And we left, like we spent the whole day in the park and we left and we forgot to get the picture. And my mom was really upset about it because it was like everybody was in it. So she was like, okay, well, we need to go back and see if we can get the picture. And I'm like, okay, I'm sure we can get it, whatever. And this is like me, my mom, my dad, my grandma, my aunt, my uncle, their two boys who were like in their 20s and 30s, and we're
Mhm.
all loaded in one car. Okay. Like we are all like people are sitting on the ground. We get up at the ass crack of dawn because we were like, we're just gonna go straight to Dollywood for this one day. We're gonna get the picture and get out.
Mhm.
It was like the Griswolds family vacation movie. Dollywood was closed that day. We pulled into a
No.
completely
Oh
empty parking
no.
lot,
I'm so sorry.
and we were like, shit.
Oh, it's so funny you say that because I remember one of my really great family trips with all of my cousins, my aunts and uncles, was in Gatlinburg and was when we were younger. I must have been like 7 years old, and we rented a big cabin as a family. And I'm
Yeah,
talking like multiple families
we
in one
did that too. Yeah.
cabin, but it was the same cabin. I found a picture recently. I'll send you a picture of it after this. But and I remember going to Dollywood for the first time, how much fun it was, and my one cousin. She always gets lost or got lost on family trips as a child. So, like, a family trip was with like, Alexis, where did she go? And she got lost in Dollywood for like an hour. So it happened all the time. Like we were all just waiting for it. Like when is she gonna get lost kind of deal. But I have such good memories of being there. I feel like I remember seeing her or a Dolly lookalike at
Yeah.
do you
She
remember like the rodeo show? It's either like attached to it or
Yeah,
nearby.
I think it's called like the something Stampede.
Oh, Dixie
Yeah,
Stampede.
Dixie Stampede, that's what it is. Yeah, yeah.
They probably changed it now. Good. They should change it.
Yeah.
If they haven't changed it already. But knowing Dolly, she probably did.
Yeah.
So,
No, we definitely went to that too whenever I was younger. But
hmm
it was one of those trips that like it was so fun as an adult. Like that you get to
hmm
kind of have like that childhood fun again as an adult.
Yeah.
So like I started listening to Dolly again after that trip. And I kind of like reconnected with her music as an adult. And so getting to like seeing that you were able all of this to say, seeing that you
hmm
were able to marry like horror and Dolly was such a fun thing
It
for
was
me.
it was so fun to think about. Well, you kind of see memes too. You're gonna laugh. Have you seen the memes of like Dolly next to Elvira? Like the two of them being sisters?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
like Wendy Dalrymple and I were kind of joking like that was like personalities merging there. Like
Yeah.
Dolly and Elvira. I was gonna say, have you seen that? What is that movie? Jennifer Aniston is in it, and she's like the mom, and the daughter joins a local like debutante in somewhere in Texas, and like the whole thing is about like Dolly Parton music after her aunt dies because she was really connected to her
Yeah.
aunt. Gosh, Like I want to call it
Wasn't
I want to
wasn't
call it
it called
biscuit,
wasn't it
but
called butter?
I thought it was like butter something, right? Like, am I crazy?
I'm gonna Google it now because it's gonna bother me.
That was such a good movie, though. It made me cry how good it was. And it made me think about those people in our lives that we're so connected to and how something as simple as music can connect us to people that we love and care about.
Yeah, no, for real. Also, I'm dying. It is not butter. Butter is another
How
movie
how far off are we both? You
with
said,
Jennifer Gardner in it, and it's about carving butter sculptures at the state fair.
oh,
So let me backtrack to Jennifer Aniston's
you said
IMDb page.
you said butter. I said
Dumpling.
dumpling. Wow, we were so wrong about butter biscuit dumpling.
Incredible. So wait, let me ask you this. So you said that you lived in Texas.
Hmm.
Where are you from originally, and like how much time did you spend in Texas? And like
Hmm.
I kind of want to hear about that experience and what that was like.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm kind of from everywhere, but
Mhm.
I say I grew up in New Jersey. So my dad was an airline mechanic. So
Yeah.
we moved around quite a bit, just post 9/11, journey of every airline family. So I was born in North Carolina. I lived in Florida for a little bit, and then I lived in New Jersey since from sixth grade up or no, seventh grade up until college and until I graduated college. So I
Okay.
always say my mom grew up in New Jersey too. So I we moved back to the town that she was from.
Okay.
Um, so I say I'm from New Jersey. My husband's from Arkansas, and
Okay.
we lived in Texas for 4 years because of his job at the time, and we lived in San Antonio, and it was magical. And
Okay.
I was a little scared at first living in Texas because I didn't know what to expect. I was like, where the
Yeah.
hell am I? And I think you kind of go into if you've never been there, you go into Texas thinking it's one thing, like just root and toot and don't take my gun kind of vibes, and like you step on someone's lawn, they're going to shoot at your feet, something like crazy like that. And
Yeah.
it was it was pleasantly surprising how wonderful and heart like welcoming a lot of people can be, and
Yeah.
I had a great support network in San Antonio too, as well. I always shout out the Texas Horror Crew, as I call them, which is
Yeah.
just like pretty much if you're anybody in Texas, if you're an author, you're a podcaster, um, you fall somewhere within the horror genre in Texas, you're a librarian or a creator, like you're part of the crew at large, is what I'm going to say. But I was very fortunate to like I guess I find them so early
Yeah.
on in my author journey, and so I'm always thankful for them, and they all know who they are. So
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And it's funny because I would argue that more of that attitude about don't take my gun, don't step on my horn is like kind of more Arkansas sometimes, like
it is kind of
South
where
Arkansas
Arkansas.
than, Texas. So it kind of cracks
Yes.
me up. But
So have you been to Arkansas?
oh yeah, I live in Louisiana. We frequent Texas, I mean like a fair amount.
Hmm.
Arkansas because we have family friends that live up there, and then
Hmm.
Mississippi and Alabama, like you got to cut through there to get to Florida, and we do like
Yeah.
summer vacation in Florida.
So my husband's from Little
Yes.
Rock.
Okay, yeah.
My first summer I went to Arkansas. It was like 2011. My husband was all excited. He wanted us to go on a lake trip because everybody goes on to the lake kind
Yeah.
of deal. We went to Greer's Ferry, and I think we went to I would call it like a little diner. I don't know what
Yeah.
you like up there. And I think he was just we were talking with his family, and he was imitating like a wave runner,
Yeah.
whatever you call them. I'm not versed in the watch of sports, if you will.
Yeah.
And this old man, you can't see, like the listeners can't see, but like it looks like I'm like holding handlebars right now. And this little old man comes up to my husband and like then boyfriend, he's like, son, if you're gonna hit her hard. And then he just left. And I was like, that was my first interaction with
Man.
Arkansas.
Southern people, and I say this as somebody from the South. I'm from an hour south of New Orleans. We are unhinged. There's no telling what will come out of a little old man's mouth like that. Like they're the ones you have to watch too.
Yeah,
The
and he
quiet
was like
ones.
a little pipsqueak, this guy. He just kept on going about his day. Like that was just a regular Sunday afternoon for him.
Yeah, it's wild. It's very wild. And I do feel like you kind of channel some of that in
Mhm.
Neon Moon because there's one of my favorite parts about Neon Moon before we even get to like the real slasher part of it, which is very fun, is kind of like the barfly hangout honky tonk
Mhm.
setting. And we have like our main character Darlene who's working behind the bar but she's like catching up with the regulars. Like she's watching a bachelorette crew wander in and then like compare and contrast. We're caught between them and then the regulars. And I really appreciated the conversations with the regulars. Like that was a very oddly like comforting. I don't know what that does about me that I found comfort in that, but it
No,
was like
that's
very wholesome, you
yeah,
know?
that's kind of what I wanted. So some of those folks like Randy and
Yeah.
Ezra and Orville, they are 100% like inspired by people who I've grown up with. Like I Appalachian, I've had uncles like that, or
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
just the way that they speak, you're like, oh my God, like what came out of your mouth? Um, and I also used to work at a pub in college, so I felt like I kind of got to witness a lot of that little banter at the bar. And it's so fun to listen to that kind of conversation. Like you said, it is comforting and it almost like takes you back to a time, maybe a time of innocence when you're younger and you just see all like the people who you feel safe around. Like just the safe banter of them just squabbling harmlessly with each other.
Yeah, it's very yeah. There's a very nice familiarity in it that like
Mhm.
really kind of came off the page that I feel that was really nice to read. But I do kind of want to talk about including the bachelorette party a little bit because it's so funny to me. Like we just went to Nashville not long ago, like I think a few years ago.
Mm.
And it was like right in the I think the beginning of the big bachelorette boom there and then
Hmm.
like it's only gotten bigger it feels like.
Yeah.
Um and you kind of write about that a little bit. And I was very curious how it felt to write that dynamic and kind of like what your observations on this have been because it's super weird. I say weird. It's just it's very different than what I thought like being somebody's bridesmaid was going to be like because this was all like in my 20s. So like I was kind of being asked to do some of this and I was like I'm not really on board with this is not my speed. And I know it's not about me,
Hmm.
but then again, anyway, all this to say,
Yeah.
it's a weird phenomenon that I'm kind of curious for your thoughts on.
I was thinking I've been part of a few bridal parties. I remember like one of my the fun ones, my sister-in-law, we went to New Orleans for her bachelorette, but
Yeah,
her then husband, they did a joint bachelorette party. So we all went to New Orleans together, but all the guys like they split up and they did their own things and the gals we did our own thing.
yeah,
Although like the guys got to do all the haunted cool stuff and we had a lot of fun. We went to like I forget. I think it was like tequila factory down there, like one like the only distilleries in the US. Although
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
it just it is kind of fun to see like it's almost like people who are like, we're back in college and we're going to see how much we can handle and everything's going to be fine.
yeah.
But with the Nashville dynamic, I have found the aesthetic to be quite interesting
Me
with
too.
bachelorettes, and it's so expensive now, a lot of
That's
bachelorette
the piece
parties.
of it. Yeah,
Like so my cousin 2 years ago we were planning and I said, okay, Molly, like I'm just dropping my name, cousin's name here, I don't care, they'll be fine. But I was like, what do you want to do? She's like, I just want to be able to have a nice drink and a nice view and hang out with people in like a
yeah,
chill place. But she wanted to do it in Asheville. I was like, cool, we can totally do that. And just like coordinating with a large group of people and making sure you stay in line with people's budgets, that's a lot of work. And like,
yes.
no wonder when you're done planning it that you want to kind of let loose in some ways. But I think it also speaks to like what you see on Instagram. You see some of these people who they just so there's a like a veneer that they
Hmm.
have to be like, this is the perfect bachelorette, and we're in Cabo, or we're in Miami, we're in Nashville, and
Meanwhile, everybody's fighting, everybody's throwing up. Three
e-
people are passed out,
yeah,
everybody's
people are
broke.
throwing up in the
Yeah,
bathroom, that you're not going to get the deposit back on the Airbnb.
yeah,
Like you've got two bridesmaids that probably don't like each other, but they're just, they're being nice for the sake of the bride. Everybody is sun-kissed, spray tanned. They've all got like the same hair color, or you know what I mean? Like everybody kind of looks like a clone of the other, which that might harken back to folk tales, but I don't think that's what's actually happening here.
yeah, yeah,
Because in folklore, like bridesmaids would like try to like they would look like the bride in case they got kidnapped or
yeah,
something.
yeah,
But yeah, I don't know. I thought it would just be a really fun element to put into the honky tonk because
yeah,
it's a variable. Like you've got a bratty bachelorette party who, they want what they want and they're gonna get it because gosh darn it, it's the bride's weekend, and if you can't deliver, like they're gonna make your life a living hell.
yeah,
Um, so
yeah, yeah,
I thought that'd be a fun dynamic because it seemed like you can tell like Darlene is kind of used to like one way of being at the bar. Like for the most part, people are very chill. They're there to just have a good time, to hang out, connect, to dance, to sing,
yeah,
just to sway along with the music, if you will, and not for people to like getting like blackout drunk at a table next to them and
yeah.
dancing on the and making it a Coyote Ugly kind of scene.
Yeah, well, and
Hmm.
that's the thing I think that was really interesting to me from like the narrative structure standpoint is those two levels of intensity socially that you create in one space. That's
Hmm.
always like, you kind of throw them together and just like see what'll happen. These kinds of people, the has-beens who are like this is their watering hole, they're here all the time,
Hmm.
versus the, very intense group of women who are looking to party.
Hmm.
It's just really interesting. And this the place that you said it's kind of remote. So like it's not like, like, oh, we're gonna go pop over to the gas station for cigs or like to
Hmm.
go get a cocktail somewhere else. Like this is it. So it's very much like
Yeah.
a powdered keg situation of like everybody's in this one place at once, which is
Hmm.
really interesting to read about. Did it feel in any way like claustrophobic to you to kind of create this setting?
Yes, and I wanted it to be that
Yeah.
way because if you ever worked in a bar or even if you've just never been to a bar on like a Friday night, I wanted it to feel claustrophobic. I wanted it to feel like a fever dream, especially if you've been at a bar, and it does kind of feel like that where the lights are just the right hue and you're kind
Yeah.
of being whisked away in this crowd of people. There is I guess the ambiance of the whole atmosphere, but it's crazy. And there's in the Texas Hill Country, there are places where people will go as tourist locations, like the bridal party. They talk about a wine tour. Like there are wineries out in the random of like middle of Texas Hill Country, and
Yeah.
there's like random little bus tours. And I think it's also interesting to try to like to mix outsiders with locals because you see in a lot of like regional horror, Western horror, it's us versus them kind of
Yes.
dynamics going on. I wanted to introduce that a little bit. Especially with the setting of Texas. No matter where you go, if with regional horror, there's always going to be that element of outsider, like us versus them. And like I'm sure in Louisiana, you already know there's some dive bars where it's like if you're not a local, they're going to look at you like, "What the hell are you doing in my bar
Yeah, 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 yeah.
today?"
No, we have that bar in our neighborhood, and we go there sometimes. And even though we
Hmm.
go there, like I wouldn't say so much anymore on a regular basis. It felt like that initially whenever we started going. But um, yeah, you bring up a really good point about Western horror, which I feel like is kind of having a little bit of like of a moment. I feel like it's on the up and up. There's something about it that,
Hmm.
or at least I'll put it this way, I'm really interested in it lately. And I'm kind
Yeah.
of curious for your thoughts on that and like why you were interested in it in particular
Hmm.
for this, story.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think pop culture in general has been f focused, obsessed, just maybe enchanted by like the Western aesthetic. You see it a lot in fashion
Yeah.
right now. Maybe not with movies so much, but with fashion, you're seeing it a lot right now. Like you see a lot of Wrangler ads, Aria ads, um, and people just have it come down, especially like interior design. You're seeing it there as well.
Hmm.
Um, I think so. If we're looking at Western horror. Western horror tells us that like the landscape is the threat. It's pushing in on the characters. It's asking the characters, who are you when the morals of society go out the window? And more often than not, it shows that like humanity, like we are deeply flawed people. And
Yeah.
you see it in film and literature, like especially cannibalism. Cannibalism comes up a lot in these narr
Yes.
in
Yes, it
these
does.
narr in these narratives. I think it's having a moment. I think it's influenced by a couple things, probably. I do think that in some circles, it's probably trying to cater to a certain audience
Hmm.
that I think maybe aligns with, I'm going to say conservative values here because I
Yeah.
think that a lot of people, when they think of Western, when they think of the South, that's what they think of first.
Yes.
They think of these types of values, these people, like what do they value in their communities? I think also aside from the conservative audience that people might be trying to cater to right now, and particularly I'm going to say in
Yeah.
music and film and fashion here.
Yeah.
But when we're looking at horror, I think that there's a draw to it because there is so much uncertainty right now in the world. I think people are, there's two sides of the spectrum. People are seeking security,
Hmm.
and then people are seeking, I think, I'm going to say the road less traveled, like some kind of element of freedom here that takes like that just rips away the mask of everything
Yeah, the
and like this
pretense.
like this is the reality that we are living in.
Yeah.
And an element of lawlessness that they can play with. And like you see that a lot in like weird westerns too.
Yeah.
Like you can play a lot with the rules and monsters and whatnot. But I do think that Western's having a moment because of its ability to emphasize the grit and terror of humanity, especially in isolated settings. And it's weird to say isolated because the West is so large and expansive. I mean, you've got desert, you've got like beautiful rock formations and mountains, and but it's isolated because it's very lonely out there, and
Yeah.
it forces readers to confront this part of themselves as part of like their character. Like, is the character redeemable
Yeah. Yeah.
after
Yeah.
they have done what they've had to do to survive? Um, yeah, I do think it's having that moment, and I also think that people want to play with it because I think that there are pop culture icons who have I'm gonna say like for me like I like values that align with mine, like Casey Musgraves, for example.
Yeah.
Um, that I think that people are saying, okay, like, well, I'm starting to see myself more in these spaces. Like maybe I would like to play around with that as well. Especially with like contemporary country music.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah, I go ahead.
I feel like, and this is maybe just me. I mean, you can ask my friends at the beginning of the year. I was like, my theme for the year is the alternative. Like,
Hell
I want
yeah.
to push back on like
Mm-hmm.
like embody this because there's so much about the Western. I don't want to say genre, but like movement classification, whatever you want to call it, that
Mm-hmm.
does like speak a lot, I think, for what a lot of non-conservative people are for. Like
Absolutely.
being self-sustaining and not relying like on the government and
Mm-hmm.
like being able to survive harsh conditions and but then like also introducing ideas of empathy and welcomeness and like kind of
Yeah.
growing, more than ourselves and expanding our communities and stuff like that. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that is kind of like our answer to the conservative Western typical
Yeah.
movement, you know?
And and you look at like trying to think too, like the like country music, folk music, bluegrass, like they're made for the working class
Yeah.
people. Like the songs that I'm gonna say bro country has been built off of are these people who they did struggle and they struggled for their rights in the workplace. Especially like Appalachia, we're gonna go bluegrass and folk here. Like
Yeah.
Appalachia with mining rights. Down in Texas, you've got oh my gosh, down in Galveston, was it steelworkers? Someone's going to correct me on this, but like every region has its own pocket of people who had to fight for what they have, and
Yeah.
they're deeply protective of that. And older songs, especially in the genre, I think were more reflective of that emphasis on community, that emphasis on working hard, and it wasn't just like driving a truck down a back road with my baby in her in her
Yeah.
cut off jeans. But I do like we are seeing a resurgence in folk music and bluegrass.
Yeah.
Like and
I'm
yeah,
hoping
go
that we're
ahead.
reclaiming the narrative of that, you know?
I think there is a reclamation happening here. I
Yeah.
do. But it's really fun to see new artists coming out as well
Yeah.
too. I just learned I love Kitty Wells. I don't know if you've ever heard her. I
I
was
feel
talking
like I have.
she's got great music. I think I was telling Stephanie about it on her
Yeah.
podcast, and I love just the haunted sound of it. I'll send you a couple others after this because I can't think of their names off the top of my head. It's like, wow, like it's just against the grain of everything that's going on right now, and I love it.
Yeah. And that's, and I think with horror too, in particular, like to kind of shift gears and to bring it back to
Hmm.
the genre part of it anyway.
Hmm.
Like a big staple of this genre is grit and tenacity
Yeah.
and like the need to survive. And that is another huge pillar of like the
Hmm.
Western kind of the genuine Western aesthetic, like of cowboys and living on hard land and
Hmm.
maintaining your livelihood and that kind of thing. The isolation aspect of it is always really, really fascinating to me. Like I love to kind of sit with that because there's no more fertile ground for horror than isolation.
That's the
Like
truth.
you cut people off and shit gets real.
Yeah, yeah, and it's so funny because I think having grown up in the Northeast for most of my life and then going out to some place like Texas,
Yeah.
there are places that are so isolated. They're like you're like, gosh, you better hope you have cell phone coverage if you're going down a back road.
And then that's where the blue screen happened. So this is me, Anna, from the editing bay, just noting to you that we did talk a little bit more, or we were hoping to talk a little bit more about secluded horror in, the country and kind of how that plays a part into the typical, stereotypical, like Western themes that we see in like country music and all this other stuff. But all of that to say, we lost it. There's just no getting it back. It just lost in the ether. So we pick up instead talking about slashers, which is really fun, and I hope that you all enjoy that. But yes, my regards from the editing bay. Damn you, technology. I'm gonna ask the standard question though. With slashers, I'm always really interested in how you come up with the kills. Like some of my favorite questions there, like I've talked to like Brian McCauley before, and it's his creativity for some of the
Mhm.
kills that he's had in his books, and yours is 100% on brand with that. You have some really gnarly scenes of just like, oh shit, this got real really quick. How did it
Mhm.
feel for you to write those scenes? And like, was there anything in particular that inspired you for some of these scenes?
I had so much fun writing those scenes, and I don't know what that says about me. It's funny because I wouldn't consider myself like I don't venture into like splatterpunk very much or anything like that. Like of course I say that and, like you read that other story of mine that I did. Whoops. Whoops. But I think it's kind of fun to think of. I was thinking about like, okay, well, what's kind of like the standard equipment that's going to be readily available to a killer in these places? And there's certain things that I think you just can't ignore. Like, who doesn't love a good pitchfork, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's so much you can do with that. My favorite was probably the bathroom scene. That
Yes, say
that
that
was
one
my
is
favorite.
that was so like there's so for listeners, it does get like it's kind of steamy, but
It's
it's
steamy.
crazy to me how like the same kind of nerves that our body reacts to like whenever you're like,
Hmm.
oh, this is getting steamy, and then like the violence, like the reaction that you have to those two colliding, and
Hmm.
basically like a head-on collision is so fascinating to me. And I'm always curious how that feels for you or any author who writes something like that, like in that moment,
Hmm.
because it feels like a big lane change to go one way and then immediately the other.
It is. I think too, what's kind of fun about slashers is the intimacy of
Yeah.
the kills because who was I talking to recently about like you said like Mad Housewife horror and how intimate it can be because like the first thing you think of is like a giant steak knife and like how intimate of experience that would have to be. And a lot without giving too much away, a lot of the kills that happen in Neon Moon are very intimate kills and
Yeah.
pain and pleasure are two sides of the same coin. And I think that if you can find ways to push them together into a scene like that. And it was very 80s campy too, almost as well. That I thought it'd be kind of fun to bring back in with, especially with Ezra as a character. Oh, that's a
Yeah.
spoiler. It's fine. No one, it's fine, everybody. Don't worry. He's totally fine, maybe.
No, no, no. I don't think that's a spoiler. I mean, everybody's involved in something in some way, shape,
Hmm.
or another with this story. But
Hmm.
yeah, no, there was a really fun nod that you made with that bathroom scene and kind of the result of the bathroom scene. There was also somebody like I don't know if this is a spoiler to say, but somebody gets like impaled on something that I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's wow. Okay, what an image. That I
As
thought
one
was
does.
super, super creative. And I was like, all right, this is pretty gnarly. This is good.
Yeah,
Um, and I don't think it's fair to say that you have fun because to me, like it's fun to read, and it's just to me, it's a creative exercise. Like
it
you're in
is.
a locked room with so many tools. What are you gonna do with them? And it's fun to see what the authors come up with so
Yeah.
many set pieces. You know?
I thought that the slasher was the hardest character for me to write because I feel
Yeah,
like I knew everybody else so intimately as characters, and then I had to sit with the slasher thinking about their motivations and why they're there in the first place, and just their hit list, if you will.
yeah.
I think it's an intimate story, so I think that a lot of the things that happen, I think are in line with their motivations and their drives as the killer in the story.
No, no, that makes sense. I did want to ask you about this too. So like, and this I don't think is a spoiler either, because I mean you kick off the novella with this, but you use like an analogy of nature, like
Hmm.
wounded birds and prey and this really like kind of I don't know if intense is the right word, but like we know what that looks like and we know what that sounds like, and like,
Hmm.
when we stumble across a wounded bird in the wild or whatever. So I wanted to ask about your choice to kind of frame things that way and start things off that way.
Hmm.
Creatively, and what that felt like to kind of take something that is like very base level violence but kind of elevate it into this other kind of space.
I think when we think about animals being hunted, there's this innocence that we see with it, and almost like the cruelty of nature and how it feels unfair when you're looking from the outside, and that we're, it's prey versus predator. And in a slasher setting, it's the same way. And I wanted to maybe bring in that element of helplessness on the prey's part, on the people who are meeting the hands of the slasher, so to speak.
Yeah.
Part of it I do think is just my love of writing lyrically and
Yeah.
poetically. And that's something that in other works I've tried to shift away from tone from, and my publisher is like, no, 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 bring it back. Like, don't be, it works for some people, it works for other people, but I think I just had a lot of fun, and especially that opening scene too. Like reading it out loud for me is so much fun because it just goes.
Yeah.
It's a very fast-paced scene. And I wanted it to kind of feel like almost like you're tumbling down a hill and somebody's chasing you, and oh my God, like there's a light. Oh, who's on the other side of that door? Are they going to help you? Are they not going to help you? But just thinking about, yeah, really just the innocence of creatures. And, you think like an owl in the woods and a mouse and how like just violent and quick that is. And just, yeah, I think I just bring it back to that grittiness, so to speak, as well, too. Um,
Yeah. Well,
like,
it's kind of the fundamental chase kind of
hmm.
sequence that I think that we go back to the high adrenaline, the, you know, predator versus prey kind of idea, but there is something very elevated about the way that you write it. There is like an odd beauty to it with
Yeah.
with those descriptions that you have. So I was very in tune and like kind of curious where that came from for you, but that makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense.
Yeah, and
Um,
I love Gothic literature too, and some of that
yeah.
influence might be there. Someone recently said that that Neon Moon can be more Southern Gothic, really, if you think about it. I was like, gosh darn it, you're right.
Yeah.
It is Southern Gothic, but I love the language and beauty of the Gothic, and you know, s romanticizing death in this way, and it's in a slasher, that's even kind of, it's like, what does that say about me? I don't know, but there is a way to look at it that's beautiful and tragic at the same time.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I also wanted to ask you too, kind of balancing, like a slasher is known to be kind of fun, kind
Hmm.
of, like, it can be like kind of campy, and you have your moments of like humor in this book as well, but there's also a lot of sincerity and earnestness whenever it comes to ideas of like domestic violence and themes of domestic
Hmm.
violence and kind of like autonomy and those things. And I was very curious to hear from you kind of how you threaded that needle or walked the fine line of maintaining both, but
Hmm.
one never really invades on the space of another, if that makes sense. Like you
Hmm.
still are able to keep the comedic scenes comedic without, you know, doing any disrespect to the really serious issues that you're talking about with this book.
Yeah, one of the things that I wanted to try to do with this book was I didn't want to make fun of the people
Yeah.
that it was based on. Because I know that that's something that a lot of folks in the South and out West struggle with, is that people just have this assumption of who they are, that maybe they're not intelligent because of their accent, or that they think a certain way or act a certain way because that's where they're from. And I'm sure every region has their own issues with this, but I really just I know people are going to go into a honky tonk slasher with the idea of like making fun of cowboys and like, dude, that's what we do, right? But um, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to necessarily do a disservice to what I felt like I wanted to bring the best of Texas to it that I thought I could to the scene. I wanted it to be like, you can wear your cowboy boots and fight for civil liberties too. And there are a lot of issues that still affect Texas on the side of civil rights. And like something I just briefly touch on is like bodily autonomy in Texas is still an issue that is being fought over, particularly in the realms of like abortion care, for instance. And you've got cases of people who unfortunately are bleeding out in hospital rooms, and because of the laws that have recently been passed in this country. And
Yeah.
so I think I wanted to kind of show that too, and that there are people who are affected by that, and that in these small rural communities that may not have access to care, like other people do in the cities. And even still, like these very serious things happen out there. And but you find a lot too in these regional horrors is people minding their own and not realizing that the horror is next door.
Yeah.
And so I think I just wanted to touch on that, and I pay respects where it was due, and that these are people who are very salt of the earth kind of people.
Yeah.
Um, and while not necessarily making fun of them for it either.
Yeah. It's Yeah, I relate to all of that very much, especially being in Louisiana, because we
Hmm.
are faced with a lot of the same kind of issues and social struggles and like the disconnect from actually providing care and,
Hmm.
what it means to care for your fellow neighbor versus like the agenda that's being pushed politically that actually just controls people and doesn't care for people.
Hmm.
So that aspect of this obviously really came through for me with Darlene's story and kind of like her struggle with, her past and then obviously what she's dealing with in front of her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really yeah, it's a heavy hitter and I'm trying to avoid spoilers
Oh.
in talking about it. Because it's just so infuriating whenever, you're in this place that offers so much, but is also so limited by the powers that be, you know?
Yeah, and there's all these institutions around them that tell them to be a certain way. Like, and I don't get too much into it, but like religion is an element
Oh yeah.
in any Southern horror that
Yep.
you'll find Western horror to an extent. Western horror, I feel like Southern horror is more like religious, like focused or religion focused, like whereas Western horror maybe not so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just thinking about like Darlene's character. I think you in a short amount of time you do see her like in a sense reclaiming her autonomy while also using something like her sexuality as a shield for herself to protect herself, and it's
Yeah.
in a bar setting especially too. So yeah, I think she was a complicated character to write and play with, and I didn't want her to like start from zero either, necessarily, because I wanted her to be a survivor from the get-go, and
Yeah.
she's endured so much already. Yeah, it's
Absolutely. And I want to kind of start to wrap things up a little bit on a lighter note. And I want to talk
Mhm.
about Levi, the possum,
Mm.
and your edition of him. And I just want to talk about him because I love him very, very much.
Oh my gosh, he was so fun to write because I love a good trash panda. I love a good But I just thought it would be fun to have some kind of critter involved, and I love animal sidekicks in horror stories, and I think it does raise the stakes a little bit because they are just innocent. They're pure innocence,
Yeah.
and they're just going off of their own instincts. And did you know that possums cannot control when they play dead? That it is 100% involuntary on their part. Like how inconvenient would that be as a like
Oh, whenever my computer crashed just now, I would have played dead and then we'd be done for here. We'd be done.
So yeah, I told myself like I can't have a dog. I have to have like a you see like it's got to be a critter. It's got to be some
Yeah.
kind of critter, and like a possum felt it just felt right.
I love it. I love a critter. I love a story with a critter. So I'm all on board with Levi the possum. I love him dearly, and
Mhm.
I was very, very concerned for his safety the whole time.
My husband is currently reading Nemo. He doesn't normally read my work while I'm doing it. He would rather see the finished product before he
Yeah.
picks it up. And he was like, "Swear to God, if you kill this possum, I'm gonna be so upset." Because he
So
doesn't read
valid.
horror. He doesn't read horror normally. I think the last horror book he read was Whale Fall with me.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Well, that's a good one. But yeah, no,
Mhm.
so fair. TJ doesn't read either. My husband doesn't read either. So it's like
My
I'm trying to,
husband's my husband's a nonfiction girly, I call him.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to explain like sometimes TJ will look over at me reading and he'll see like I'm going through it and he's like, "Why don't you just put that down for a bit?" I'm like, "You don't understand. I
Like,
can't." Like
I can't.
we are at a point where putting the book down is not
It's
an
not an
option.
option. I think
Yeah.
the last one that really did that for me was So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison.
Yeah.
I was like crying. I was like, no, oh my God, the mall scene. And I was about to like call my old friends from high school and be like, I love you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. So fair. So fair. Oh man. Well, I love Neon Moon. I love that you were able to have fun with it and also address like serious issues with it. And it's it's got the country music, but it's also got the social justice that makes it alternative to me. And I
Mm.
it's just such a great atmosphere, and the kills were gnarly, and it's just, everything that you could hope for in a honky tonk slasher and more. But
Yay.
what else do you have going on this year that we can plug and promote for you? The book is out
Oh,
now with Dark
yeah.
Matter,
The
but what
book
else is going on?
the book is out, Neon Moon is out, and I'm encouraging everybody to support their local independent bookstores if they're interested in picking up a copy or shopping on bookshop.org to
Yeah.
support maybe bookshops that maybe a little bit further away in their area or going through Dark Matter Inc. directly because we like to support small presses, especially with the recent news that we've been seeing. I'm going to say like be vague about that.
Yeah.
But now more than ever, we need to support independent presses, independent bookstores because there are all of these, what should we call them? Institutions that are closing in on these small businesses
Yeah.
with the prevalence of AI. So now more than ever, support small, shop local. But other than that, I can speak to some things. So
Okay.
I'm going to talk about my collection, Gods Always Eat Their Children.
Yeah.
It has a home now.
Okay.
I can't say who yet. It will come
Okay.
out. But we're looking at a fall release date for it. And
Yes, ma'am.
that is, I'm going to call it a cross-genre poetry collection. Is dystopian in nature. It's political. It's very feminist, and I have Greek mythology in it. And so I looked at the culpability of humanity in its own destruction and chaos.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and so I use in particular the Roman gods Janus, who is the god of doorways, passages, can see forward and backwards in time, and I also use the goddess Bellona, who is the goddess of war in Roman mythology, and I saw a statue of the two of them, um, that is so I think it's in Vienna, and it's interesting because I don't know if I couldn't find any text of those two gods specifically like ever having stories with each other. And I was like, I can make a toxic love narrative out of this. So I put that in there. Yeah, so that should be coming out this year. And then I recently signed a couple things, and I should have more information on that soon. I had a book I wrote a couple years ago, finally found a home, which is great. So that should be hopefully coming out next year. Um,
So exciting.
yeah, so I have a lot coming out soon that I can't talk about, that I want to talk about. So I'll also plug recent things too. Of course, Punk Goes Horror too, as
Yes.
well, edited by William Sterling from Trueborn Press, and then the Look What You Made Me Do anthology from Sobolo Books. I was fortunate to be part of that as well, so I will plug those too.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, I'll link everybody's socials and stuff in the show notes, but definitely we'll be watching your space to see what those announcements are
Yeah,
whenever the time comes for those. But I'm super, super stoked for you. That's awesome.
yeah, thank you.
I always love whenever projects that an author has had for a while, like find a home and you kind of get to be excited
hmm
again about that work, and revisiting it. That's always such a cool thing to see. So I'm super,
hmm
super thrilled for
I
you for
am
that.
too. It's a book I wrote. The one that's coming out hopefully in the spring is it's a book I wrote in 2023. So I get to sit down and revisit it, and that's gonna be a lot of fun. That's gonna be a true comedy horror. So
Hell yeah.
I'll tell you more offline about that. And you're
Okay. Sounds good. Well, thank you so much, Grace, for coming on today and chatting about Neon Moon. Like I said, I had a great time with it. It was such a
yeah.
quick read, and it was mostly because of the pacing, as is with slashers, and it was just a really great read. And I had a blast talking with you
I'm
about it.
so glad that we did this, and I'm excited to see you at StokerCon too.
Yes, so so thrilled to get to see you.
Yay.
I'm getting to see like so many people in person this year that like even
I
since last year, I've like met so many more people doing the interviews and all that stuff. So
know.
it's always very, very exciting. But yeah, I will see you soon. But everybody should pick up Neon Moon from Dark Matter Inc. Like I said, support your indies, support
Yes. hmm
bookshop.com. And until next time, thank you so much, Grace.
Yay. Thank you. I really appreciate this.
And once more, another tremendous thank you to Grace for not only just giving me like a stellar interview, even though I was crashing out midway through whenever my computer just gave up on me, but just for getting me through the second half whenever I was very much in a tizzy. But no, it was such a lovely time getting to chat with Grace about Neon Moon, about kind of what country music is and what it feels like to be Western, in terms of actually abiding by the ideologies of Western, kind of attitudes and motifs and things like that, and applying it to her book and the fun of Dolly Parton and so much more. I'm really thrilled for Grace that she has so much else coming out, and I'm super stoked to get my hands on whatever it is that she puts out next. Um, it's just really exciting, and it's really great to connect with another female writer in this way because I love Grace's stuff. So, all of that being said, turning to next week, I will get an episode to you all on Tuesday. I don't know if I'll have a bonus episode because I will be attending Creepaway Camp in Colorado. If any of you are going, let me know. I hope to see you there. Say hi. But I will be traveling next week, so I will be very, very busy in the wilderness in Colorado, and I will return the following week with normal episode, bonus episode, that kind of thing. So until then, I hope that you all are well. I hope that you all are staying cool because it's so freaking hot outside. And until next week. Oh wait, one last thing, actually. I mentioned a few episodes ago the launch of Darker Times, and I have been doing lots of writing for the site. One of piece of which went live this week that I put a lot of work into. If you are into YouTube horror short films, please go read this article because I went down a rabbit hole from like 2009 till now, picking apart, a channel or a YouTube series of sorts between then and now, trying to figure out where this format kind of began, given the boom of like Curry Barker with Obsession and Backrooms with Kane Parsons and all that stuff. So I spent a lot of time researching this, and I watched some videos that scared the absolute shit out of me. If you want to read more about it, that article is full of it, and I hope that you all enjoy it because it was a labor of love and my nerves are shot. So if you go to darkertimes.com, you can read that article for free. But I'm also going to ask you if you can to subscribe, because writing for Darker Times has been an opportunity for me to write the things that I've always wanted to write that didn't quite have a place to go. A lot of like think pieces and reflecting back on specific experiences with the horror genre, whether it's television, film, books. There's just like such a unique place for me to place this kind of writing, and it's been an absolute delight to get to celebrate that with my fellow co-founders of Darker Times, and I want to promote the hell out of it as much as I can. So before I sign off for this episode, please go check it out if you haven't done so yet. Go read the piece on YouTube short horror films because I worked on it really hard, and I'll love you forever if you do. And also consider subscribing. You'll get some exclusives like our weekly newsletter that's exclusive to paid members. We're gonna get some book and movie clubs cranked up soon, and then there's gonna be some other exclusives that we're rolling out because we're still in our soft launch period. So be on the lookout for those. But if you're already subscribed, thank you so very much. It means so much. This is such a cool passion project that I get to work on. And yeah, okay. Now I'm really going now. Goodbye.